Lieutenant Jason Rourke gritted his teeth as alarms screamed in his ears. Fire danced across the control panel. He pressed buttons, tried the emergency boosters, but it was too late. The small recon shuttle had been hit by something hidden. Defense grid, or maybe a random asteroid. The stars spun, and the planet below rushed toward him. He blacked out before impact. Jason woke up to silence. The wreckage of his shuttle lay behind him, half buried in thick blue grass. Above him, twin suns glowed in a red-purple sky. Strange mountains rose in the distance, tall and sharp, like the teeth of some ancient beast. A giant bird soared overhead, screeching. His body hurt, but he was alive. He checked his arm console. No signal, no GPS, no connection to his fleet. Jason Rourke, human soldier, was alone on an unknown alien world. This day just keeps getting better, he muttered. Jason knew one thing. He shouldn't be here. The planet was marked as Thalsara. In galactic charts, no human had ever set foot here. It was part of the Zarelian Empire, ruled by a powerful alien queen. Entering this space without permission was considered an act of war. And yet, here he was, crashed, lost, alone. He had a pistol, a small knife, a water purifier. And whatever supplies he could pull from the wreck, survive first, he told himself. Figure out the rest later. Hours passed. Jason moved through the forest, careful and alert. The plants were strange glowing vines, floating spores, and giant flowers that pulsed with light. Once, he saw a creature that looked like a walking crystal, but it ran when it saw him. Then he heard voices, alien voices. He ducked behind a thick tree and peeked down below. Near a waterfall stood a group of Zarelian soldiers, tall, silver-skinned, warriors with armor that shimmered like stars. They surrounded a smaller figure, also Zarelian, but wearing long, elegant robes. Jason's eyes narrowed. Something was wrong. The soldiers were shouting at her. One raised a blade. She wasn't. Their friend. She was their prisoner. Jason didn't think he acted. He leaped from the hill and fired his pistol. One alien fell. The others turned, surprised. Jason rolled behind a rock and threw a flash grenade. The light blinded them. He rushed forward, grabbed the robed woman's hand and pulled her toward the trees. "Come on," he yelled. She stared at him in shock, but followed. They ran. Lasers hissed past them. The ground shook with heavy steps. But Jason was fast, and the forest was thick. They escaped. They stopped under a glowing tree, panting. Jason looked at the woman. She was tall and graceful, silver-blue skin, long white hair braided with gold. Her eyes deep purple glowed softly in the shadows. She looked at him not with fear, but with curiosity. "You saved me," she said. Her voice was clear, smoothened somehow. She spoke his language. Jason nodded. "Yeah, I figured they weren't your friends. They were my guards," she said calmly. "Or so I thought. They tried to kill me." Jason blinked. "You're royalty." "I am," she said. "I am Queen Serixa of the Zarelian Empire." Jason stared. He had just saved the alien queen. They moved through the forest. Serixa, leading now. She seemed to know the land well. Her feet were light on the moss, and no creature dared come near her. Jason walked beside her, still shocked he had heard of Queen Serixos, the unshaken ruler of one of the oldest empires in the galaxy. People called her many names: the Silver Flame, the Moon Queen, the Unyielding Voice. And now she was here. Walking beside him, like a lost traveler. "Why did they turn on you?" Jason asked. Serixa looked up at the sky. "Because I seek change. And not all in my empire welcome it." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Change. I want peace," she said. "I want to end the cycle of conquest. I want to open the empire to new ideas, new voices." She paused. "Even humans." Jason smiled faintly. "Well, I guess I'm your first guest then." Right. By nightfall, they reached a strange structure, an invisible platform hidden high in the trees. Serixa pressed a crystal on her bracelet. Bridge appeared. They crossed into a floating palace made of clear glass and light. It hovered in the sky. It's unseen by any below. "Welcome to my sky retreat," she said softly. Jason stood at the edge, looking at the stars above and the forests. Below, it was beautiful, peaceful, unreal. A small group of loyal guards appeared, only 3. They had stayed with the Queen, hiding here after the betrayal. They looked at Jason with suspicion, but Sarixa raised a hand. "He is under my protection." Night. Jason sat at a crystal table across from the Queen. They ate strange food, sweet and glowing, and drank from silver cups. Music played softly in the background, like wind across water. Sarixa studied him. "You are unlike other humans I've seen," she said. "I'm not a diplomat," Jason said. "I'm just a soldier. Wrong place, wrong time." She tilted her head, or the right place at the right time. He didn't know what to say. After a pause, she asked, "Why did you help me?" Jason leaned back. "You looked like someone who didn't deserve to die." She smiled. It was the first time he saw her truly smile. It changed her face, made her seem less like a queen, more like a person. Later, they stood at the edge of the glass palace, looking at the stars. The galaxy stretched above them, millions of lights. Spinning in silence, Jason crossed his arms. "You said you want peace. How do you plan to do that?" "Don't know yet," she admitted. "But I know the Empire cannot continue as it has. Endless wars, fear, obedience without thought. I want something different." She turned to him. "You speak without fear. You challenge me. You think like no one in my court dares to." Jason chuckled. "Maybe that's because I'm not part of your court." "Exactly," she said. She took a step closer. "Jason Rourke," she said softly, "what would you say if I offered you something unthinkable?" He looked at her, curious. Like what? Why, she looked him straight in. Eyes, there was no fear in her voice, no doubt. "Will you rule the galaxy with me?" Jason Rourke didn't answer right away. The alien queen's words echoed in his mind. "Will you rule the galaxy with me?" No one had ever asked him something so strange, so impossible. He looked at Hertha, glowing eyes, the strong face, the calm power in her voice, and realized she wasn't joking. She meant it. "I'm not a ruler," he said slowly. "I'm a soldier, a small one." Sarixa smiled. "So was I once. A warrior before I was queen." Jason looked away, out toward the stars. He didn't know what to say. The next morning, Sarixa's ship arrived, a sleek vessel shaped like a silver wing. It was hidden in orbit, waiting to take her back to the capital. Jason stood at the edge of the platform. "What happens now?" "I return to Zorelia," she said.
Ow.
"And I want you to come with me." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Your people will love that." She nodded. "They won't. Not at first. You're asking for trouble." "Offering you a place beside me," she said. "Not as a puppet, not as a symbol, but as an equal voice, a partner." Jason sighed. "Why me?" "Because you speak the truth," she said, "and you challenge me in ways my people no longer do." He looked into her eyes. "All right," he said. "Let's see where this takes us." The ship took them across the stars. Inside, Jason saw wonders. Walls made of shifting crystal, rooms filled with floating lights, and screens that showed entire solar systems in one glance. Sarixa treated him with respect, as if he were already one of her own. The crew didn't like it. They watched. Jason from a distance. Whispers followed him through every corridor. Still, no one challenged the queen. Not yet. They arrived at Zorelia, prima vast city world, covered in shining towers and floating highways. Thousands of ships buzzed through the sky like insects. In the center stood the imperial spire, so tall it seemed to touch the stars. Jason stood beside Sarixa. As they descended into the palace, guards lined the halls. Servants bowed. Nobles watched in silence, and all of them stared at him, the human. The Hall of Lords was wide and bright, filled with voices and glowing emblems of every noble house. Alien lords sat in curved rows, dressed in rich robes and armor. tall, proud, and oldsome with metal skin. Others with forearms or glowing tattoos. Sarixa walked to the center. Jason followed her. The only human in the room, gasps echoed. Some lords stood in protest. Sarixa raised her hand. Silence fell. This is Jason Ruark, she said. He is my guest and my chosen ally. Whispers rippled through the hall. Human. Someone said, he doesn't belong here. He's not even part of the Concord. This is madness. One lord stood tall and golden-eyed. Lord Velkath of House Zir. With respect, your grace. What has this primitive done to earn your trust? Jason stepped forward before Sarixa could answer. I saved her life, he said simply. Gasps again. Some looked angry, others curious. And I've seen your empire from the outside. Strong but afraid. It rules by fear. Not loyalty. More murmurs. Lord Velkath sneered. You dare judge us, human? I dare speak the truth, Jason said, 'cause none of you will. Sarixa placed a hand on Jason's shoulder. He will stay, she said. He will learn, and he will speak, as my equal. There was no debate. No one argued with the queen, not in public. But Jason could feel it, the anger, the fear. He had just made powerful enemies. In the days that followed, Jason stayed in the sky chambers, a quiet section of the palace reserved for royal guests. He was given new clothes, food, and a personal translator bot. But not peace. Some servants avoided him. Guards watched him closely. Still, he didn't back down. He walked the palace halls, listened to council meetings, studied maps of the empire, and asked questions no one dared ask. Why were certain planets taxed heavily, while others were not? Why did noble houses keep private armies? Why were peaceful colonies treated like threats? At first, the nobles ignored him. Then they got annoyed. Then, some began to listen. One evening, during a council session, Jason offered a simple suggestion. What? If the outer colonies were allowed to elect their own governors? Lords laughed, but Sarixa raised her hand. Explain, Jason continued. Give them voice, and they'll stop rebelling. Let them feel seen. That's how humans do it. Choice creates loyalty. The room went silent. One younger noble, a woman, with green skin and glowing eyes, spoke. It would reduce uprisings. Another old lord nodded slowly. It could free more fleets for border defense. Lord Velkath stood. This is a trick. The human is teaching rebellion. Jason shrugged. Or I'm showing you how to avoid war. That night, Sarixa met him in the palace garden. Lights glowed among the trees. Alien birds sang soft songs. A waterfall poured into a pond filled with silver fish. She wore no crown, no, just a simple robe, her long hair loose. You spoke well today, she said. I said what I thought, Jason replied. Same as always. She smiled. You're changing the way some of them think. Not trying to take over. I know, she said. That's why they trust you. Jason looked at her. He said I'd be your equal, but they won't accept that. Not really. No, Sarixa agreed. Not yet, but they will, or they will fall. Jason sat on a stone bench. You really believe change is possible? She nodded. I have to, or everything we built will crumble. Suddenly, a messenger rushed into the garden. Your Majesty, urgent message from the border. Sarixa stood. Report. Messenger's eyes widened. 3 outer systems have declared independence. Their leaders claim the empire is weakening under human influence. Jason tensed. That didn't take long. But they've blocked trade routes and seized patrol ships. Sarixa turned to Jason. This is your test too. Jason stood. Then let's face it together. The next day, a royal cruiser prepared for departure. Its destination, the outer systems now in revolt. Jason was invited aboard not as a prisoner, not as cargo, but as a commander. Sarixa gave him an official title, Imperial Voices Speaker for the Crown, with power to negotiate, command, and Lead. Many nobles were furious. Jason didn't care, as the cruiser lifted into space. Syraxa stood beside him on the bridge. Below them, the great towers of Zorelia shrank away. Ahead of them, rebellion waited. She looked at him, still one to rule. "The galaxy with me?" she asked, smiling. Jason looked ahead. "Let's start by saving it first." Inside, Jason Rourke stood in the command chamber, staring at the star map. Red markers blinked where trouble had begun 3 outer systems: Mavros, Caldra, and Uvinth. All declared independence. All blamed Queen Syrax's weakness. All pointed fingers at Jason, the human voice in her court. Syraxa stood beside him, her hands folded behind her back, her face calm as stone. "They think they can scare us," she said. Jason nodded. "They think you've gone soft, that I've poisoned your rule. Let them think," she said. "We will give them something real to fear." They arrived at Mavros Prime 2 days later. Jason stepped off the cruiser with Syraxa and a few guards. A crowd waited, angry, tense. Local leaders had gathered, flanked by rough soldiers. One man stepped forward, tall, with gold implants in his face. "I am Governor Jarn of Mavros. We do not recognize human authority." Jason didn't flinch. "Good, I'm not here to rule you." Murmurs rose. Syraxa added, "We are not here to crush you. We are here to listen once." Governor Jarn scowled. "You bring outsiders into our empire and call it peace. You forgot who you are, Queen." Jason spoke again. "If you want to leave the empire, say it plainly. But no, this others will come after you. Pirates, warlords. You think independence means freedom. It may just mean chaos." Jarn laughed. "A human dares lecture us about empires?" "No," Jason said calmly. "I'm just the man trying to stop yours from burning." The meeting lasted hours. Jason listened more than he spoke. He learned that Mavros wasn't just angry, it was starving. Trade routes had collapsed, supply shortages were common, taxes kept rising. When Jason asked why they hadn't spoken out before, the answer was clear. Fear, under the old empire, silence, meant survival. Now Jason and Syraxa promised something different. Open negotiation, new trade paths, and shared power with local leaders. By the end of the visit, Jarn stood quietly beside Syraxa. He didn't bow, but he nodded. "We'll give you one chance, Queen, but the people will decide. Not the throne. That," Syraxa said, "is all I've ever wanted." On the way back to the cruiser, Jason asked, "Do you think they'll stay loyal?" "Maybe," Syraxa said. "Maybe not. But they'll think before rebelling again." Jason sighed. 2 more systems to go. She looked at him, smiling softly. "And still, you walked beside me." "I said I would," he said. "You're not alone in this." She stopped walking. For a moment, the stars above them reflected in her eyes. "Jason, you're more than just a soldier now. You speak like a leader." Jason looked away. "Don't want a throne. You want justice. It's more powerful than any crown." As they traveled to the next system, Caldra, the real danger began. In the middle of the night, Jason woke up to a strange sound hissing. Soft hum from the vents. Poison gas. He rolled off the bed, grabbed his mask, and triggered the emergency. Seal, he kicked open the hallway door. Alarms blared. Guards ran in all directions. Flames burst from one corridor. Someone had planted explosives. Syraxa's voice came through his communicator. "Jason, are you safe?" "I'm fine," he said. "Are you?" "I'm with Captain Vorn. We're moving to the secure chamber." Jason ran toward her location. In the lower decks, chaos ruled. Fire suppression bots fought blazes. Enemy agents dressed as crew attacked loyal guards with plasma blades. Jason picked up a fallen soldier's rifle and fired. 2 assassins fell. He kept moving, cutting through smoke and sparks. When he reached the secure chamber, Syraxa stood inside a force field, sword in hand. Captain Vorn was wounded, but still fighting. Jason joined her. They got in deep. Syraxa nodded grimly. They planned this for weeks. Someone from inside. Jason's mind worked fast. They wanted to kill us both in one blow, but they failed, she said, and that made them dangerous. After the attack, the cruiser limped to a Zarelian repair station. Engineers worked day and night to fix the damage. Jason and Saraxa met in a dark conference room. I have the list of crew present during the explosion, Saraxa said. We'll find the traitor, Jason frowned. You don't have a security problem. You have a loyalty problem. She nodded. Too many nobles want me gone. They believe I've gone mad, that I'm letting a human rewrite our future. Jason sat down. Let me speak to the lords directly. Let me show them we're not trying to break the empire. Oh, we're trying to save it? Saraxa leaned forward. They don't want saving, Jason. They want control. Then we take it from them, he said quietly, piece by piece. Caldra welcomed them with cold silence. The local council refused to meet. Armed ships followed their cruiser. The city's skies were filled with banners calling, Saraxa, a traitor. Jason stood before the palace gates with her and held a microphone. I'm Jason Rourke. Human. Yes. The crowd booed. But I'm not here to rule you. I'm here to ask one thing. Are you happy with what you have now? They went quiet. He pointed at the banners. Does that sign feed your children? Does your anger fix your broken roads? Does calling me a threat make your lives better? Some people lowered their signs. Jason continued. If the Empire hasn't helped you, then let us fix that. But don't burn the house down because you don't like who's visiting. That speech spread fast. Within hours, Caldra's leaders sent an invitation. Jason and Saraxa walked into the great hall of Caldra Dark Chamber. Made of stone and light, an old woman greeted them. I am Eldris Vea. I once fought in the last Zarelian war. I have seen queens come and go. She studied Saraxa, then Jason. You speak like a soldier, but think like a builder, she said. Jason nodded. We're building something better, then we'll watch. But no, our patience has limits, Saraxa replied, and so does mine. The last planet, Uventh, never sent a reply. As their cruiser approached, it was attacked. Enemy fighters swarmed like hornets. Explosions shook the ship. The crew scrambled to return fire. Jason joined the defense wing, piloting one of the interceptors. Laser fire lit the black sky. Jason dodged enemy blasts and took down 3 fighters. One clipped his wing, sending him spinning, but he recovered and rejoined formation. In the command, Senta Saraxa ordered a full counterstrike. Push them back, she said, but do not destroy their capital. I want Chiventh to know we came to talk, not conquer. Jason's voice crackled through Cums. That's a hard message to send. When they're trying to blow us up, then survive long enough to deliver it. The battle ended in a draw. Uventh's leaders offered a ceasefire, nothing more, but Saraxa took it. For now, survival was a win. As the cruiser left the war-torn skies, Jason collapsed into a chair. Exhausted, bruised, but alive. Saraxa joined him. You fought well, she said. I try not to die when I can help it. She sat beside him. I've ruled for decades, she said, but never with anyone beside me. Not like this. Jason looked at her. You still want me here? More than ever, she said. But this isn't just about ruling anymore. Jason met her gaze. What is it about then? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached out and gently touched his hand. And in that quiet moment after battle, after fire, after fear, Jason didn't pull away. The sky over Zarelia Prime was dark with thunderclouds, as if the planet itself sensed the coming storm inside the Imperial Spire. Queen Saraxa and Jason Rourke stood side by side, watching the data streams flicker on the giant holoscreen. The Empire was fragile. Rebellions burned on the edges. Secret plots festered in the courts. The nobles whispered treason. And now, with Jason standing by her side, the Queen faced a choice unlike any before. Jason folded his arms and said, We need to change everything. Not just fight fires. Saraxa nodded. But how? The lords won't listen. They fear losing power. Jason smiled. Then we give them a reason to listen. She looked at him, curious. I want to build a new council. One where all the worlds get a voice, even humans. Syrexa raised an eyebrow. Humans. You want to bring the Empire's oldest enemies into the council? Why not? Jason said. Because the galaxy needs unity, not old grudges. She sighed. Idealism is a luxury in politics, Jason replied. Maybe. But it's the only way we survive. That night, in the grand hall of the Imperial Spire, Syrexa called a meeting. The lords arrived, their faces hard and suspicious. Some whispered, the queen has lost her mind. Jason stood beside Syrexa, prepared to speak. Syrexa opened the meeting. The Empire faces a choice: change or collapse. She turned to Jason. This human offers a plan. Listen. Jason stepped forward. We create a new galactic council. Each world sends representatives. They decide together. No one rules alone. The hall erupted in protest. Lord Velkath stood, voice sharp as a blade. This is madness. The Empire is built on strength, not weakness. Jason held up his hand. Strength is not just armies. It's trust, loyalty. People want to believe they belong. A murmur passed through the lords. Syrexa said, I will stand by this plan. Those who oppose are against the future. Outside, protests grew. The old guard feared losing their power. Secret meetings plotted Jason's removal. One night, as Jason walked alone near the palace gardens, he was attacked. 3 masked figures lunged from the shadows. Jason fought hard, blocking blows with his arms, knocking one to the ground. But he was outnumbered. Just as the 4th attacker appeared, silver blur crashed into them. Syrexa, wielding a gleaming blade, she fought with the fury of a queen protecting her king. Together, they defeated the attackers. Jason gasped. Who were they? Syrex's eyes narrowed. Men who fear change. Traitors. The next day, Jason called for a new strategy. We can't just wait for the lords to accept us. We need to prove this council works. Syrexa agreed. They sent envoys to key worlds. They negotiated trade deals, defense pacts, and cultural exchanges. Slowly, planets began to send representatives, willing to try the new council. Even some nobles whispered of support. But the rebellion in the outer systems flared again. Pirates and mercenaries attacked trade routes. Some colonies declared independence once more. Jason led the fleet to defend a convoy near the Varabelta, dangerous asteroid field used by smugglers and pirates in space. Battle was fierce. Jason piloted his fighter with skill, dodging plasma, blasts, and laser beams. His squadron took down enemy ships one by one. Amid the chaos, Jason saw a large cruiser break through the asteroid field, a pirate mothership. He targeted it, firing volleys until it exploded in a brilliant burst. The fleet cheered. After the battle, Jason and Syrexa met with the representatives from the new council. Syrexa said, We face war and peace. Together, Jason added. This is not the end. It's just the beginning. The representatives nodded, united by hope, back at the palace. The traitors in the court made their move. They seized control of the communications tower and spread false news that Jason was a spy. Working for a hidden enemy, the city exploded. In anger, riots broke out. Syrex's guards tried to control the chaos. But it was overwhelming. Jason stood on the balcony, looking down at the burning streets. He clenched his fists. We need to act now, Syrexa agreed. She called her loyal forces. Tonight, we reclaim the city and restore order. Jason led the soldiers through the alleys, fighting alongside them. The battle was brutal, but swift. By dawn, the city was calm. In the quiet aftermath, Syrexa and Jason stood on the palace rooftop. The first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds. Syrexa said, We have survived the storm. Jason smiled, and we will build a new empire, one that belongs to all. Syrexa took his hand. Together, they looked out over the galaxy they would rule side by side. The great hall of the Imperial Spire was filled with light and sound. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for the first meeting of the new Galactic Alliance Council. This was not the empire of old, ruled by fear and power, but a new beginning. At the center of the hall stood Queen Cerexa and Jason Rourke. Not as ruler and servant, but as partners. Jason looked out at the crowd. Humans were rare here, and many still whispered and stared. But he held his head high. He thought back to when he was a soldier lost on an alien planet. Now he stood as an equal among stars. Cerex's voice echoed through the chamber. Today, we mark the end of an old era and the birth of a new galaxy. One where all worlds have a voice. One where we build together. Cheers rose from the crowd. In the days that followed, the alliance grew stronger. Planets that once fought each other signed trade agreements. Old enemies sent ambassadors. Pirate gangs that once terrorized trade routes found fewer places to hide. Jason worked tirelessly, visiting worlds, listening to leaders, and sharing human stories, stories of hope, struggle, and unity. 1. Evening, on the palace balcony. Cerexa and Jason watched the twin suns set. "You changed everything," she said softly. Jason smiled. "We changed everything together." She looked at him. "There were times I doubted. Times I feared the empire would fall. But it didn't," Jason said, "because you dared to change." She reached out and took his hand. "In the end, it's not the crown that makes a ruler," she said. "It's the heart." Rumors. Spread of a new statue to be built in the capital. 2 hands joined. 1 human and 1 Zarelian, symbolizing their alliance. Jason laughed. "I never thought I'd have a statue." Cerexa smiled. "You earned it." But not all were happy. Some. Noble houses still plotted in shadows. They whispered of rebellion. Fearing the loss of their power, Jason and Cerexa prepared for the future. "We'll face them," Jason said, "like we faced everything else together." Time passed. The Galactic Alliance Council grew in power and respect. The galaxy felt hope again. Jason and Cerexa ruled side by side, not as queen and consort, but as equals. Their bond became a legend, a human and an alien queen, united in vision and heart. One night, under the stars, Cerexa asked, "Jason again, will you still rule the galaxy with me?" Jason smiled, holding her hand. "Always."